So welcome everyone to the regular council meeting of Monday, September 25th, 2023. Just a reminder that members of the public can be present in council chambers during the meeting. But also know that the webinar will be recorded and published on the city's YouTube site. So the first item on the agenda tonight is the adoption of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes to adopt. The first one is from the public hearing of September 11th, 2023. And the next one is the regular council meeting of September 11th, 2023. The recommendation is that the minutes of the public hearing and the regular council meeting, both held on September 11th, 2023, be adopted as circulated.
Make that motion.
Councillor Martin, Councillor Benson. Any questions or comments? No errors or omissions. Okay, everyone in favor of the motion? Carried unanimously, thank you. Public question period. I don't see anybody online. So no public question period. On to communications. And I'll hand it over to, Mr. McClure for this.
By law, I think, Mr. Cheney.
Oh, Mr. Cheney, okay, thank you, Your Worship.
As you know, we have recently hired new bylaw staff at the City of Trail. Our bylaw officer has been with us a few months now. Her name is Bobby Briscoe, and we recently brought on a new parking meter attendant by the name of Ron Thiessen. It is appropriate then for you to appoint them as bylaw enforcement personnel pursuant to Section 36 of the Police Act in order for them to have the powers and responsibilities to enforce the city's regulatory bylaws. So the motion before you is that pursuant to Section 36 of the Police Act, Council appoint Bobby Briscoe and Ron Thiessen as bylaw enforcement officers for the City of Trail.
Councillor Hanson and Councillor Wilson seconded. Any questions or comments?
The comment, just wanna, on behalf of council, welcome to the city, and it's really nice to have a full complement. I've met them both and they seem really great people, so welcome.
Thank you.
I'll pass that along.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the recommendation? No opposed, carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And the appointment of the acting corporate administrator.
Thanks,
Mr. McClure.
thanks, Mayor Jones. So tonight in front of you, sort of some housekeeping components under the community charter, section 146. There are a couple of official positions that need to be established or set by the municipality for the role of financial officer and corporate officer. When we talk corporate administrator, it's basically synonymous with corporate officer, just so sometimes you might get called on that, but corporate officer, corporate administrator, synonymous. And they have certain duties and expectations. One of them, as we read about, is making sure that there's accurate minutes to the meetings, and they're prepared and that they're signed and taken care of. Making sure that records are available for the public. They have the ability to take applications, affidavits, and declarations. They also certify copies of bylaws, which is an important piece. As the council will remember when we had our 5-year financial plan or our tax rate bylaw. Those are then, once they're completed, they are certified by the corporate officer, and so that gives them an official component that we then send it down to the province and they can be filed accurately. We know that with our previous corporate administrator no longer with us, and we have had Mr. Cheney step into the role as our acting corporate administrator, and we need to make that change of rescinding who was the previous corporate administrator and put Mr. Cheney into that place while she's in that role currently. I don't know if any council has any questions, but I'm happy to answer.
So, okay. Is there someone that would like to make that recommendation? Councillor Wilson? Councillor Butler, seconded. Okay, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Cheney, for stepping up into that role. Really appreciate it, yeah. Okay, Councillor Benson, on to committee reports.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. So, since our last meeting, on the weekend of September 15th, I chaperoned the Trail Ambassadors to West Kelowna for the West Kelowna Youth Ambassador Program. It was a good opportunity for me to check in with the ambassador team and hear about how things have been going for them. They represented Trail so far at Castlegar, Cranbrook, Kelowna, West Kelowna, and Oliver this summer. And the program is now starting to recruit new members, so things will start ramping up again. On Thursday, September 21st, on behalf of Mayor Jones, I attended a ceremony and dinner celebrating Brian Pipes and his induction into the Babe Ruth League International Hall of Fame. Brian's well known in our city for all the work he's done with youth softball and baseball over 5 decades of service. And it was a really great evening with members of Trail's baseball community and those that nominated Brian, and it was really fun. They had a lot of reminiscing about the 1995 Babe Ruth World Series, which I remember being at when I was little, and it was just a thrill of a lifetime, so congratulations to Brian. On Friday, September 22nd, myself and Councillor Wilson and Corporate Administrator Sandra Lucchini joined us at the grand opening of the Salvation Army in downtown Trail. It's recently completed a over $3 million renovation and now combines 3 of their services. The thrift store, the soup kitchen, and the food bank all under one roof now, and it's absolutely beautiful. Captains Eric and Rachel Olson, they toured us. We had a great discussion with them, and everyone is invited. It's open for everybody. Go visit the thrift store, donate what you can to the food bank. Visit the soup kitchen. A lot of people think that it's just for those that are in need, but anybody can go, give a donation, pay what you can. It's a really great way to break down barriers. And then we ventured to the Smoke Eaters home opening game where we joined 1,600 other Smoke Eater fans and they lost, but with 3 seconds left in overtime. But it was an exciting game. Mr. Rich Murphy and his daughter Madeline were in town, so it was great to say hi to them. It was a fun week, even though, we weren't in the big city. We kept the place standing. And that's all I have. Remember, I do have something to bring up. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Benson. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On behalf of Council, on September 14th, I attended along with Councillor Hans in the Downtown Improvement Committee monthly meeting. Between the 17th and 22nd, I attended the annual UBCM along with yourself, Councillors Hanson and Cashel and CAO and Clare. It was a busy week and an approach to divide and conquer was employed. Without doubling up on what others will be reporting out to you tonight, I'll highlight the forums, clinics, and meetings I attended. To start, I attended a conversation on decriminalization of public use, followed by a forum on tools, funding, and resources for local government, the annual AGM of the Municipal Insurance Association of British Columbia, and the report can be found in your reading file. Community Health Hub forums, along with numerous ministerial meetings and meetings with the RCMP. Highlights also included a meeting with senior management at Pacific Coastal with Councillor Hanson, and a housing forum co-hosted by Ministers Whiteside, Conroy, and Cullen. I'd also like to express my thanks to staff, especially Ms. Lucchini, for her excellence in arranging and organizing the numerous ministerial meetings, travel plans, and event attendance. As a returning councillor to the UBCM this year, on a personal note, I feel you, Mayor Jones, will agree that there was a refreshing air of optimism and positivity at the UBCM this year compared to the last, and definitely a forward-looking positivity after the 2 years of COVID. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councillor Cashel.
Thank you, Mayor Jones, and thank you, Councillor Butler. Yes, I also had the privilege of being part of that delegation to the UBC conference last week, where I participated in meetings with 7 provincial ministers, the Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP, Dwayne McDonald, head of the RCMP in British Columbia. We also attended a government relations meeting at Tech headquarters. I also took the opportunity to tour Covenant House. It's a low barrier homeless shelter for individuals aged 16 to 24. It's a $35 million building, which was finished last year, and it accommodates 60 guests, and the average length of stay at that facility is 110 days. It provides all the necessary wraparound services through a full complement of staff And the interesting point on this is that it's 95% privately funded. It sets the benchmark very high. It's a state-of-the-art facility, but it does show what can be accomplished with will and, of course, with money. It was a great opportunity. I would like to just highlight the one meeting that the delegation had with Minister Whiteside, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions. Mayor Jones did make a request to the minister asking the minister's assistance in securing funding to improve mental health and addiction supports for our area. The minister did recognize the need for a regional approach for treatment, and she also recognized the need to identify gaps in service, particularly between detox and treatment. The minister and her staff were not aware, which is to be understood, of what exactly we had in our area for treatment options and treatment facilities. So I told her and her team that we had a 5-day detox in Castlegar, but we had no treatment center in the entire West Kootenay. Further to that, I raised a reference to a report titled the BC Coroner Service Death Review Panel, a review of illicit drug toxicity deaths. This report was released on March 9th, 2022, and it contains 3 recommendations to help reduce deaths due to illicit drugs. 1 is a safer drug supply. 2 is a coordinated, goal-driven provincial strategy. And 3, a comprehensive continuum of substance abuse care. Recently, just in fact, prior to heading down to that conference, I heard an interview between our chief coroner, the chief coroner of BC, Lisa Lapointe, in an interview with CBC, expressing frustration that the recommendations outlined in that report were not being addressed at the provincial level. Coroner Lapointe is urging the Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions, along with the Minister of Health and local health authorities, to come together and form a provincial strategy or plan to deal with this drug crisis. Several months ago, this seed was planted when I had a conversation with, at that time, she was a nurse practitioner here in Trail, Tammy McLean, and she's a current strong advocate on the Trail Community Action Team, expressing the same need. So I asked the minister during this meeting the following question: what action has your ministry taken towards implementation of the recommendations outlined in the BC Coroner Service Death Review Panel report? Minister Whiteside, in her reply, she talked about a program currently being implemented at St. Paul's Hospital, which is meeting the needs for that continuum of care. But her reply was vague, and I don't think it really incorporated an answer to the question of what's going on in a provincial strategy format. So as a result, I would like to request a follow-up letter be sent to her ministry. And as a result, I'd like to make the following motion: that city staff draft a letter on behalf of our mayor and council addressed to Minister Whiteside, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, asking what action her ministry is taking towards implementing the recommendations outlined in the BC Coroner's Service Death Review Panel report released on March 9, 2022. And I apologize to you, Ms. Lucchini, for the notes. I did try and send this to you earlier in an email, but you may not have received it. But I can go over that again if you need clarification. And that is my motion. And thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Cashel. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there anyone that would like to second that? Councillor Wilson, any discussion on that letter before we vote on it?
I would say just making sure that we're seeking clarity as to what steps are being outlined by the province and addressing that. You know, acknowledging what is being done and thanking her for the meeting. Just wanted to seek clarification on some of the questions we asked.
I'd like to echo his comments. Councillor Hanson.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Thank you, carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor Cashel. That was a very good detailed.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. And that will, yeah, I would just like to add as well, I really want to thank Mr. McClure for delivering the key points. Mayor Jones would make the initial address, but CAO McClure, touched on the relevant points, and he did an outstanding job representing us when we met with the government relations team at Tech. His knowledge of tech, his interest in tech, his respect for tech was very much appreciated, and I think he well represented us there at that table. So I want to thank Mr. McClure publicly for that, for his work at the as well as my council colleagues and Mayor Jones as well, but particularly CAO McClure for his efforts and work at the conference. So that will conclude my report, Mayor Jones.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hanson.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Jones. I'll try to make my report brief, but it has been a busy couple of weeks. On the 12th of September, I attended the supportive housing meeting where we were able to see preliminary renderings of the new temporary shelter and give some early feedback. The BC Housing was very happy to have the feedback that they got from the community in regards to safety concerns, and they are taking those things into account to make sure there's adequate lighting and protection for foot traffic. Also the need to ensure that fire trucks are able to get off the road completely as to not obstruct any through traffic. On September 14th, I attended the Downtown Trail Improvement Committee meeting on behalf of the city, where there was conversation about crime prevention through environmental design study, that a SFU professor of criminology that specializes in crime prevention through environmental design would actually like to write a paper on it and possibly be engaged. Also, we were acknowledged that the BC Chamber is going to be administering the Securing Small Business Rebate Program, and that allows for businesses to apply for up to $2,000 for vandalism repairs, $1,000 for vandalism prevention, and those are funds that are going to be coming from the Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation. We also learned that there are some new potential revenue streams available through ETSI-BC for Regional Transportation Enhancement Fund that has two funding streams that may be of interest for the Trail Airport, medical transportation and or tourism. The first supports planning studies and partnerships development to improve transportation options, and the second supports the delivery of seasonal or expansion of an existing service. On the 15th, I attended the Trail Health and Environment Committee meeting to develop a common understanding of the portfolio of work that's being taking place in Trail to support human health and well-being and a community influenced by smelter air emissions. Specifically, the human health risk assessment from Tech and SNC-Lavalin, as well as the Ministry of Health and Environment, the wide area remediation plan, the Ministry of Environment was with supporting that group, as well as the Trail Health and Environment Area Program. Then we all traveled to UBCM, and Mayor Jones and I were lucky enough to participate in the fire ops training put on by the BC Professional Firefighters Association and the Vancouver Fire Department at their training center on Monday, with other elected officials and city managers with our local fire representation, understanding the important work our fire departments do, understanding their staffing needs, ongoing training needs, as well as mental health supports. And just wanted to thank our wranglers, Kyle Booten and Linda Pellegrin, for all of their assistance and sharing of their knowledge. Of course, Tuesday we had 5 meetings and it was a very busy day, and feel that we had very positive outcomes from all of those. I very much enjoyed spending time discussing the needs of our community with our local MLA, Katrine Conroy. On Wednesday, I had the opportunity to speak at a cabinet minister town hall regarding housing challenges that were facing our community, and was referred to collaborate with Minister Rolly Russell, Minister of Rural Development, which I had an opportunity to chat with later that evening. Thursday, between our ministerial meetings, I had an opportunity with Councillor Butler to meet Senior Manager of Business Development, Sean Warmbold from Pacific Coastal, and expressed our gratitude on the relationship with Pacific Coastal in our community. And I shared with him a need for potentially adding a bigger plane, a few flights a week, and possibility to return to Kelowna Fights for medical travel, specifically in the winter, also on potential tourism collaboration in our region. And I've already sent a follow-up note to further engage on opportunity. I also had the opportunity to meet with Melissa Weavers, who is a rural advisory for rural economic development and discussing challenges in rural communities. She shared with me that there are some funding opportunities and statistical data that she thought might be beneficial, and I have already reached out to her for follow-up as well. But I'd say probably a couple of the highlights for me were the opportunity by chance to meet a lobbyist who was very familiar with trail and helped the city secure funding for the airport hospital in Skybridge, and he was very welcoming to assist us in any way he can in future endeavors. As well as met with the vice president of a recycling waste management company who was again familiar with trail and our circular economy and expressed that their company might be interested in expanding. But the top part was meeting Premier David Eby. And I can tell you on TV, he is as tall as he looks. And he knows what's going on all over the province. And he mentioned, to Councillor Butler and myself, that he knew about the new shelter going on in Trail, and we expressed gratitude and invited him to come when it gets open, and he said he looked forward to doing so. That would be the end of my report.
Thank you, Councillor Hudson. It was a great meeting. I think you met everybody at the conference, so I'm just saying.
Maybe minus two, but.
Yeah, you probably already knew that. Yeah. No, it was a good conference. You're right. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. On behalf of City Council, I attended the following meetings. On September the 12th, Regional District East End Services meeting. Again, on the 12th, there was a Regional District East End Curbside Collection Working Group meeting. And on the 12th, the City Trail Governance Check-in with Tracy Lawrence and the rest of the council. On the 14th, the RDKB Solid Waste Management Plan Steering Committee meeting. And on the September 15th, the Board of Directors toured Christina Lake, which included the Christina Lake Cannabis Facility. Now that facility is on the highway when you turn down to go to the United States, just past the golf course. It was interesting talking to the manager, original investment for himself and other investors of $2.5 million, and then further investors of $20 million. So it's a $22 million facility that employs over 100 people. It's quite fascinating. It was nothing like I thought. It was quite, the technology there was outstanding. Further that day, we went to the Christina Lake Welcome Center, the Christina Lake Aquatic Solar System, and they had a bit of a tour on the lake with on the fireboat. So next was on September the 21st, I attended a Trail Historical Society meeting. And today, September the 25th, the Community Action Initiative meeting with Mayor Jones, Councillor Benson. And I'll let Mayor Jones speak on that if that's okay after, so I won't get into that. And this afternoon or lunchtime, we had a Community Safety Task Force meeting. There are 10 committee members along with CEO McClure, Mayor Jones, Councillor Benson, and myself. We had an update from Sergeant Wysenowicz, UBCM update from CEO McClure and Mayor Jones. And if you have any specific questions on any of these topics or meetings, feel free to connect with me anytime.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Well, everybody was busy, hey, these last 2 weeks. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Without repeating what Councillor Benson said, I attended the Salvation Army event with our new appointed official over there, Mr. Cheney. And just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the city to the Salvation Army. If you get a chance to go down to the building, just to see that the money that they spent in there, it's first class. Like, it's just everything's brand new. And so thank you to them for choosing Trail to do that investment. If there's any way we can support them as a city, we should, and also as citizens in Trail, if you have clothes to donate or time. I know on the kitchen side of things, they're avidly looking for volunteers. I might have talked my way into a lunch roll there. I said no cooking, but I'm happy to dish out some food. So I'll see if I'm coming down on Friday. Yeah, so if anyone gets a chance to go down there, please do. Captain Eric and Captain Rachel, just fantastic people. They just love what they do, and you need people like that in those type of situations. So thank you to them. That's my point.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Okay. So bear with me, it's a bit long, but I do want to talk about UBCM. That was such an important conference this year. But I want to start off with September the 11th. I was invited to Serva Solutions to do a welcoming remarks and to speak on health and safety in the workplace. And for those that don't know, Serva Solutions is a battery recycling industry located down in Juanita, just down from the airport. It was actually really a lot of fun. They had all of their management team there. Most of them had zoomed in. One had zoomed in from Taiwan, I believe it is, to give a speech to the workers there about the health and safety issues. Spent the morning with them, just learning about the work that they do, and you know, so many young faces there. It was exciting to see them doing this health and safety workshop early in the employment position. I also attended the Trail Health and Environment Committee meeting on September 15th with Councillor Hansen, and it was actually perfect timing to get that refresher on the work program and everything before we went down to UBCM and had our meeting with TAC. And I have to say, I appreciate Councillor Hansen bringing up the work program during that meeting. I think it was really important for them to hear it. And again, as you said, thank you to Mr. McClure for being there and being spot on with this information and being so respectful with TAC. It was a great meeting that we had with them. I'll talk about that a little bit later on here. Our first meeting at the UBCM was with the Minister of Childcare and the Minister of State, Grace Lure. And we talked about the city receiving the funding for the childcare center in Tadnak of 2.5, probably close to $2.6 million for the extension, for the construction of the extended daycare facility. But when the project came in, for the design phase, it was over cost. And so now we're, well, over budget. So now we, the city is very grateful that we, the ministry did extend the grant deadline. We reduced the number of childcare seats in order to do the redesign. But we're asking that the minister, if we are able to give the minister another update on the childcare center for the extended hours, and that maybe some of the project could be funded through the Childcare BC New Spaces Fund and UBCM's Community Childcare Space Recreation or Creation Program. It sounded very positive. Of course, they don't make any commitments when we're at these meetings. They just listen and take the information in, but they totally understood where we were coming from. And I felt good coming out of there, but you know, honestly, what happens, you know, later on, I don't know. But I mean, we're gonna have to keep pressing them for it, that's all. Sorry, I also brought a cold home with me from UBCM from talking to everybody, so I'm a little bit hoarse. On Tuesday, we also met with the RCMP executive, and it was a great meeting. It was a 30-minute staff meeting, and we had a great opportunity to speak to them about the chronically undersourced RCMP department in the city of Trail. And we're always below complement, and we were asking if there was anything that they were looking at to improve that. If there was an update on recruitment and where those recruits were going. And another good question we ask is, especially for the decision by Minister Farnsworth, is if not having the Surrey department returned to the police department by the RCMP, would some of those people, some of those officers come to Trail? Like, are they going to be dispersed amongst the, you know, throughout the communities? And we said, you know, that we hope that the city of Trail was a priority. We questioned about the latest rounds of bargaining. Where were they at? Were they getting help with the sick leave? Sorry, I kind of went dead there. The sick leave clause, that's it, thank you guys. And so they said that they were still in bargaining and still having that conversation about the sick leave, but they were hoping to make improvements there. And then we asked, what can we do to help them? And they just said to keep advocating for positions, more positions. We just have to keep hearing from us about those. Also on Tuesday, we met with the Minister of Housing, as Councillor Hanson mentioned. I mean, we're always looking for housing in this area, whatever it looks like, we'll take any kind of housing, supportive housing. We are grateful that we had the shelter and, you know, we were moving forward with that. We thank the minister for the work that BC Housing has done on behalf of the City of Trail. We just need more development of housing solutions in our area. So again, no promises, but they got the message, and I think that every community is going to these ministers with the same issues and the same reasons for needing extra support. So you can only hope that, you know, maybe we are unique and they'll see something in our request. Also on Tuesday, we met with the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Anne Kang. The really good thing about meeting these ministers is a lot of them have come through our community already. We've had the opportunity to, you know, walk them through our streets, to show them where we need help, what we need help with. And so when we met with Minister Kang, it was really nice to be able to talk to her about the library, because we had taken her down to the library and she saw the library museum and how much the library does for our community. So of course the ask was for more funding for our library. And she said it's really important to get those regular reports from the library. So I did speak to the library director and mention that, you know, those quarterly reports would be very beneficial if they were sent down to the minister or the AGM every quarter, right? So they can see the changes in the numbers and how much work you're doing. So yes, she agreed that, you know, it's always on her radar to improve the funding for the libraries, but she did thank me for bringing it up again. Wednesday, we met with the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, as Councillor Cashel reported. I thought it was a good meeting because she had been here also for a visit with CDS and had walked through the LV and came up to visit myself in the office of my office of the City Hall here. So she saw what our streets look like, what we're going through. She saw that we need housing and mental health and addiction support. So I think it's really beneficial, the letter that we're sending with the motion from Councillor Cashel, that we send that as soon as possible and keep that connection going with the Minister Whiteside. We met with the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, and I'm so grateful that Mr. McClure was there. He had a little bit more information on this, but it is a really good something to bring forward, because we're looking at BC Transit to service the schools in a better, more timely fashion, like Selkirk College and Nelson Castlegar Trail, and to increase the routes, the bus routes, so that students aren't left behind after their classes. So the college continues ongoing dialogue with the local transit operators to improve the schedules. So our request to the Minister of Transport was to better align the schedules to meet the needs of the students. And we know that those classes are always changing, so I don't know if we can change the transit route, you know, to change with the classes, but it was a really, I thought, a really good meeting as well. On Thursday, we met with the Minister of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills, Selena Robinson, and this one was about to talk about the Selkirk College student housing, the student campus. So just a little bit of a background there. Selkirk College has recently been asked by the the post-secondary education and future skills to resubmit its business case. with revised costing and updated background information for a housing project in Trail. So currently, the budget and the design is before government, so we're just waiting for them to have a look at it, hopefully finalize some student housing for us. So that was a good meeting, that was a really good meeting, that was a positive meeting. You know, the fact that they're still wanting to look at the redesign of it and are interested in it. Thursday, we met with the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General Mike Farnsworth. Because we have ongoing concerns, as I just mentioned, about the RSMP complement and the vacancies and the members on sick leave. He said that, you know, they are looking at the contract. They're still working through the complement basis for the rural communities, trying to find ways to get our complement up to what it's supposed to be. We were just asking the minister to continue to support recruitment and retention and training of our CMP officers for the city of Trail. And I believe that was that was the last minister meeting that we had. I also attended some of the workshops. I attended our Association and Kootenai Boundary Local Government Board meeting on Monday morning. I did take some time to do a little bit of outdoor activity. Myself and Councillor Cashwell went kayaking or canoeing, they like to call it. They took us just out down by Deep Cove and did a culture tour of the park, and it was really great exercise to get out in the water after all the meetings that we had been to. I just want to say that when we were down there, it was so great to connect with the other communities in our area and share that time with them. We spent time with Roslyn City Council, Fruitvale City Council, Warfield City Council. We had an opportunity to have dinner with Roslyn City Council. It was just great collaborating and building that relationship up and talking to them about what's going on in their communities. I mean, they're just right next door to us, but you don't hear a lot of what's going on because, you know, we're so busy working on our stuff in this community. But yeah, it was a great conference altogether. And again, thank you, Ms. Lucchini, for helping so much with the schedule and the briefing notes, and Councilor McClure for backing us up in there. It was a great week and full week for all of us. Any questions? I know that was a long report, but any questions or comments?
I was just gonna add, Mayor Jones, that we also advocated with Minister Farnsworth for mental health support
Yes.
workers for the RCMP as potential ride-alongs, as well as additional mental health support for our frontline workers, RCMP, paramedics, and our firefighters as well.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Hanson.
Councillor Cashel has his hand up.
Thank you, Councilor Benson. Yes, Mayor Jones, I just want to include one thing that is noteworthy. Our local MLA, Minister Conroy, did join us when we had the meeting with Selena Robinson, the Minister of Post-Secondary Education. So I think that added a lot of weight to our side of the table, having her and Danielle, her assistant there to support us in our petition. She had words to offer as well in our support. So I just want to acknowledge and thank Minister Conroy for being there as well. So that's my input. Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councilor Cashel, you're right. I really did appreciate having her on our side of the table. It felt so powerful.
And I think just from the three of us that were here, we were cheering you on from Trail, so, and we loved the photos and the updates, so I think it was just a dream team went down there, so awesome.
Thank you, and I do have to mention the fire ops exercise that we did, Councilor Hanson and myself did, was amazing, absolutely amazing. They put you through so many different scenarios, you really don't realize what, you know, the fire department goes through. We had fun, but it was hard work, really hard work.
My back still hurts.
Okay, on to if there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything under the consent agenda that anyone would like to bring for discussion? No? Okay,
I just know Mayor Jones, we're caught up now, we've got the new AP clerk, so we'll
Yeah.
be having these on a
The invoices.
regular basis instead of trying to catch up for a few months.
Yes, I noticed
May, June,
that.
July, August.
Yes.
Good to see, CEO McClure. That's great. Okay, the recommendation before you is that the items on the consent agenda be received for information. Councillor Martin, Councillor Hanson, all those in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you everyone. Any new business tonight?
I do.
Councillor Benson.
So I have a piece of new business I wanna bring up regarding the new, I guess, exclusions to the pilot program on the decriminalization of illicit drugs in BC. I know that we've all been watching and waiting, we all attended the session with the province, or through the UBCM, the webinar this summer to provide feedback on what the municipalities were seeing. So last week they did introduce some legislation, saying that possessing illicit drugs within 50 meters of playgrounds, spray parks, wading pools are now exempt from the pilot program. So now the total places exempt from this are elementary and secondary schools, licensed childcare facilities, airports, Canadian Coast Guard vessels and helicopters, and now these 3 new ones. And they said playgrounds, but it's within 15 meters of any play structure within a public outdoor playground. Within 15 meters of a public outdoor spray park or wading pool, within 15 meters of a public outdoor skate park. So my concern with these exclusions is the playgrounds part of it, because they're pretty specific in saying that it's within, the playground is the place that has a play structure. And when I look at trail and our parks, many of them don't have play structures, however, you see kids playing in them all the time. An example would be Jubilee Park behind the library, where we have the bridge where the library programmers take kids out to the park and do programming there. So I was surprised and upset based on the workshops that we attended that it wasn't just gonna be generally parks. They do say that there's more legislation coming out this fall. I don't know if they hinted at what those were at the UBCM, but I think that we've all kind of, we respected when they said, you know, don't put out any new bylaws, wait and see what they do. And we watched Nelson, we've seen other communities put in some new bylaws, and I'm hoping to make a motion. I'd like to direct staff to prepare a report on what this new pilot program and their exclusions looks like in trail. So they give us the this is, thou shalt not do it here, what does that look like in trail? So if I get like a list of all of our parks, which ones have a playground structure, which ones don't? Do we have any parks that have been reported that there's been like constant like drug paraphernalia having to be picked up? And maybe a list of the current bylaws that we do have, so that if the new legislation that comes out doesn't meet what we think is appropriate for trail, we are ready to do something. So that is my motion, to have a detailed report on what our parks are in trail, because I believe we only have one spray park and we only have one skate park. I don't know if we have any wading pools.
Multiple playgrounds.
Multiple playgrounds, and then some parks that don't have structures, so just a nice, and maybe there is something already out there that's easy to send us, but if we could have a report on that along with the current bylaws, I think we could all have be ready, so that when the next legislation comes out, we are better informed.
Can I have someone second that motion, please? Councillor Butler, okay, any comments? Concerns about that? I just want to mention, when we went in with the RCMP, I mentioned about the decriminalization announcement that they had talked about, spoke about at UBCM, and basically, you know, how disappointed I was on it. And I asked if there was going to be any extra funding for the bylaw officers that will be going around in these playgrounds and that. And they said no at this time, so not at this time, they haven't worked that into their budget. I'm really glad to see this come to council this way. I think it's an important motion to make. And yeah, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll take the vote. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Any other new business? Okay. So we have the department reports, the Regional District Kootenai Boundary Building Report of August 2023. And the recommendation is to receive this report for information. So, excuse me, Councillor Wilson, Councillor Hanson, all those in favor, carried unanimously. Excuse me. And the next item is adjournment. Councillor Wilson and Councillor Hanson, thank you.